Welcome to Conversations of Elevation. I am Tanisha Harris, all that I am, and it is a pleasure and honor to be here with you all. I am joined again with our beautiful souls who are Conversations of Elevation. We have Butterfly, we have Majama, and we are here to have conversations of elevation with you, with ourselves, to unpack the things that we thought were serving us and no longer do, and to just enhance ourselves, to grow up. So we're going to get into it today. It's a good conversation. The question that we are asking is, what can you lift? What can you lift? And so when you think about what can you lift, you may think of something in the physical.
Yeah.
I can lift a desk. I can lift a chair. I can lift my baby, all the things. But it's a little bit deeper than that. And what can you lift? It is, for me, when I think of what can you lift, it is, can I lift myself? And the answer would be yes. And how is by speaking life over myself, by believing that I can, believing that nothing is impossible. But the way that I get to that is by first speaking life. The other part is also having gratitude to be able to lift my soul, to lift my mind, to just to be, but to know that it's elevated. So Butterfly is the one who asked us this question. So I'm going to have her really get into it. Butterfly, what you got?
You know, when we have our mastermind groups and chat and threads, we are always asking each other and ourselves some of the most simple of questions, but they end up being the most complex of concepts. And what got me thinking about lift, because of course the foundation of our podcast is Conversations of Elevation, Motivate to Elevate. And so I was thinking about that after we shot our last podcast, and I was thinking like elevate, elevator, in Europe as a young preteen teenager growing up, I was an outcast, but not really, because I found a family. I find a family wherever I go. The world has no strangers to me. And one of the things that comes to mind is the language difference. And so we get on an elevator and over there it's a lift. And I said, lift, okay, to pick up. And I was like, elevate. What can I lift? What am I lifting? I carry quite a bit. And when it comes to the responsibilities that I have, my daughter, um, her health, my granddaughter, myself, I can't lift anything if I'm not lifting. So part of my inability to lift others has to do with my inability to allow others to lift me up, which is why this group became so instrumental in my life and a catalyst for my global change. Because just the fact that the two of you exist in the world holds me accountable, number one, stays in my mind. There's a pep in my step. My walk is elevated because I know the two of you exist. And so when it comes to what can I lift, I'm going to flip that around because I want to thank you both for being what lifts me.
Wow, I am always mesmerized when I get to hear from you two because you ladies have such powerful voices that, in my belief, can lift anything. So the mere fact that you ask the question, what can you lift, means that there is something to be lifted. And of course, we can. And that's the reason why the question is addressed to us. Now, when you said this, I'm like, today I will be just, just being here because I really don't know what to say about the topic. But as you guys speaking, I'm like, wow, okay. First, you mentioned the lift, which is elevator in American English, but also like as I think the thing that brought us together is really the word elevate. Because we, the three of us, are part of the people who believe that you are not successful until you can lift people up with you wherever you are going.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, the journey will be lonely. Otherwise, the journey will not be exciting because it is just you. It might even be boring. But if you intend to lift other people with you, that's what you can lift. The human being, because in the Quran, God says that among all his creatures, the human being is his favorite. So then, right there, if you want to start any work for the sake of your Lord, then start by taking care of people, and he will take care of you. So, what can you lift? First of all, we can lift people up by having conversations like this, which are really meant to elevate people. So, to me, what can we lift? Think about it. Whoever is by you, around you, beside you, needs to be lifted because we can all have some downtime, some down moment from time to time. I heard somebody said the other day that how do you know if somebody needs motivation? And the answer is if they're breathing.
Listen, lift every voice. We know that to be an old Negro spiritual, lift every voice and sing. But what you just said is in order to succeed, you must serve. And in order to serve, you must lift your voice. And considering the political climate in America and across the globe right now, I feel like we would be remiss not to remember how much that foundational Black women, melanated queens, have lifted our race throughout the globe.
Yes.
And it is high time that we are lifted up, exalt us, and recognize the love that we have given birth, not just through our wounds, but through our hopes and our dreams and our prayers. For we have lifted our prayers for eons for the success and forward motion of our people. So let's lift each other up as sisters and brothers and recognize that the butterfly effect is when one wing flaps, it sends an infinite vibration throughout the universe. So let us lift all of our wings and make a change. That's what being a global agent of change is all about. Am I right, Tanisha?
Absolutely. As we're talking, so many things have just downloads are coming. Um,
It goes.
it was so when I think of lifting as well, it is lifting up what no longer serves, and so to remove, so to pick up. That's the other term, to lift up, to pick up. So picking up something, which whether it's an ideology, a paradigm, if
Mm.
it's a mindset. So you're picking
Metanoia.
to release it, to let it go, so that your mindset can shift into something greater and better. That's change. So we're lifting up to change for the better, to become better versions of ourselves. We're lifting up to inspire because if we lift up something that no longer serves us and remove it and let it go, then we are showing the next person that they can too do it, that it is in them and on them to do it as well. And the other part that you talked about is Black women, and you talked about what we are experiencing in the political space right now. And I was at an event yesterday. I attended this event, didn't know what would come from it, but I wanted to sit in and be a part of the conversation in whatever way. And one of the individuals, Bianca Emerson, she is the president of the Colorado Black Women
Yes.
Action. She said,
Now to Bianca.
the question was asking what is her organization going to do? What are we going to do? And like as women, and she said, we're going to do what we've always done. She said, we have been, and I'm paraphrasing, but Black women have been the ones to lift up and to carry. We have been the ones who are out there voting to bring about the change that we want to see. We have the highest numbers of voting. So she said, we're going to do what we always do. What is on us and in us as Black women, right? We're the nurturers. We're the mothers. We're the carriers. And so that is uplifting, right? And so then in that statement, I was like, she's right. This is what we do. When it is time for action, Black women, we stand. We stand up, we pick up, we lift up, we rise up to the occasion to show others what to do. And on the same side of that is that the Black men are there, the ones who believe in us, the ones who support us. Yes, they are there to continue to lift us up and to support us in our voices, because we do understand that Black women are the most overlooked and underserved and mistreated and misrepresented in so many ways. And so we get to lift every voice and sing. We get to rise up. We get to pick up. For those who can't, so it's the voice or the voiceless.
Oh, the voice for the voiceless.
That is lifting up, because you are lifting up someone else's voice who doesn't have the power or the capacity to do so. And so when I think of lift, I think sometimes it can feel heavy, but when you have somebody to stand with you, to help lift you with that other guiding hand, it makes it easier. I traded in the foreign exchange market, and I remember being a part of this organization. And one of the most beautiful statements that was made was, it's lonely at the top, and we never look down on anyone unless we are reaching our hand back to lift up, to bring them up.
Yeah.
It only has to be lonely at the top if you allow it. So when your brother or sister, not where you are, and it's their time, you reach your hand back down and you lift them up. So the journey doesn't have to be as hard. Even if it was hard for you, they don't have to get it out of the mud because you did. It is, let me show you the way. That is lit.
I like that. You know, when you said that, let me tell you what you made me think about. Because it's interesting that you said foreign exchange, because the key to foreign exchange is paying attention to the global news. I don't mean MSNBC and them. I'm talking about Al Jazeera. I'm talking about Reuters. I'm talking about AP. I'm talking about Big Read TV. Shout out to Professor. Because when you see a country going through turmoil, then you already know their money is down. And that's when it's time to buy. But when you speak of that, lifting others, it's lonely at the top, but let me tell you something. It's also lonely at the bottom. It's just more people down there who don't realize that they're alone. So when you talk about lifting others by reaching your hand down, what that brings to mind is, at what point are you able to serve them by letting them know there's something that they have been lifting that it's time to let go of? At what point do you recognize when you are lifting something that, like you said earlier, no longer serves you, us, the people? And so also being able to recognize, and Professor helped me with this a while ago, in a mental space. When you recognize that you are lifting up something that is of no good, it's not your business, it's God's business, and you need to let it go.
Yeah. Not your business or
Look,
ministry.
when you guys said lifting earlier, and I'm still in this zone trying to process this thing, lifting. But I'm like, lifting is one stage. What would you do with what you were lifting?
Oh,
Because there's a conversation that I had with a young lady. This was in cohort 6 or 7. I don't remember it, public speaking. And she told me
7, the best.
she realized that a lot of people around her calls her complicated, like she's difficult. I said, look, I don't think you are difficult. What it is that you are not at the same level. And you have two choices. It's either to bring yourself down to their level or you lift them
Mhm.
up to yours. Now,
Yeah.
then the question again, what are you lifting? Everything that can slow you down. Because if you cannot
Wow.
go without them, you have to lift them to go with you. Now, in that act of lifting, sometimes you realize that what you're lifting is no longer serving you, then you need to put it away.
Yep.
But you have to lift it first in order to realize that, hey, this is not serving me. Then you got to go. This
Yeah.
is serving me. Then let's go together.
Yeah.
You know, as we all said all the time, you cannot hit a target you can't see. So we always need to start by really having the target, seeing it in order to be able to move on once you realize that, hey, this is serving me. But you don't know, if you don't know where you are going, as they say, any road will take you there. For you to understand that something is serving you or not serving you, you need to know what you are about and where you are going. So anything that you lift that cannot be carried over there needs to be discarded along the way. But it
Yeah.
starts with lifting. What
Yeah.
can you lift then? Anything that you know will slow you down if you leave it there or if you drag it. Lift
Yes.
it, look at it, either decide to go with it or to put aside.
Yeah. So you could get a better vision of it. So the definition, the verb of lift is to raise to a higher position or level. Right?
Mm.
So you might have to lift something up to take a
Yes.
better look at it, right? So your vision is clear to know that, oh, this no longer serves, and to move it to another position, which is the second definition of lift, the verb, which says to pick up and move to a different position, right? So it is lifting up, observing, unpacking, and saying, I need to move this over here.
Wow.
It's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something that we don't necessarily think about because we're
Yeah.
just in the ebbs and flows of life. But we have to lift that thing up. What is it that I'm doing right now? Is this serving me? You know
Yes.
what? I've been angry for so long and protecting my peace. And yeah, it worked for a time and a space. And yes, I
I love it.
protected my peace. And maybe I was angry or just not as hospitable as I should have been. Maybe that was serving because of the space I was in. But now I'm in a new room because my name has been mentioned in rooms that I have yet to enter. And now I have entered that room, and the people and the network and the community is no longer the same. When I was in
Yes.
that space of darkness, I have moved into the light. This room is light. I need to lift it up and look at it and say, you know what, this attitude and this behavior, this mindset is no longer serving. I need to pick it up and I need to move it away so that
You know
I
what
can.
that sounds like? Being choked by your purpose. Sometimes understanding and knowing your purpose will choke you. And I'm someone that suffers with environmental asthma. I can walk into a room, and if there's a certain scent, something in that room, a certain aura, it will literally cause me to have respiratory arrest. And I say this because what you said just reminded me that anytime someone is choking, and think of a child, whenever you see a child choking, what is the first thing that we tell them to do? Lift your arms up, because it takes the pressure off of the lungs and the chest cavity and expands your ability to breathe. So when you lift your arms, you are also letting go of the pressure that is choking and stifling the life out of you. When we lift our arms, we often do that in supplication and in prayer. And I lift my arms like this. Most people pray like this. I pray like this because I cannot receive something if my hands are closed. I need to lift my hands and have them open and in a receiving position so that I can get everything that is to come my way.
That's a
So I'm going to lift my hands and stop choking myself by accepting that there is not a room we don't belong in. There is not a place we do not belong in. There is not a single place on earth that our feet will tread that shall not become our territory, for it is written. And it's funny that Pastor spoke of the Quran because I got a new copy of it last week. I went to get a part for a car and the gentleman had the book there and I walked in and I said, Alhamdulillah, Ishmi Faraja. And he looked at me and he was like, you speak Arabic? And I'm like, I speak whatever needs to speak to me because language is universal, especially when it comes to the uplifting of the human race. You know, I'm not a person that is like, so captivated by our plight that I can't see that we are all one. When you fillet us open, we look the same. So uplifting our human race is what we need to do to stop choking the life out of our societal people.
Okay. Butterfly. You know why I was laughing when you talked about praying
You
and
always laugh at
lifting?
me.
Because in Islam, when you pray, you actually raise your hand this way. Like you
Okay.
lift them up. Like I didn't even pay attention to the receiving part, but yes, this is actually what you do. It's not
Yes.
like this. Look, this is so amazing because I believe the way we started it and what we're talking about right now is, I think, one step deeper. Because when you said, like, what should we lift? And T came up with a definition of lift itself, which I didn't even pay attention to when I was saying you got to lift it up to see if it will serve you or not.
Yes.
So basically, then you can lift anything because the question that we are trying to answer is what can you lift? So I
Wow.
said you can lift anything and
And it,
everything in order to understand whether it serves you or it is of disservice to you.
wow.
Then the choice will be clear for you to make once it is lifted. Now, this type is a little different from lifting other people up because what we understand by that is that taking them from a lower place to a higher place so that maybe they can see better. Because something that is very interesting. No, it was you, Butterfly. You said like it is lonely at the top, but it is also lonely at the bottom because it is filled with people who do not know that they're alone. I was like, wow, okay, that requires me to think
See?
because then not knowing may alter your reality.
Yeah.
You were down there, you were lonely, but you don't know that you were lonely. That alters your reality because then you are fabricating something in your mind that makes it real for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then this lifting thing is really way deeper that we,
It is
because to me, then what can you lift? Everything and anything.
everything.
You
That's
want to
deep.
have, if you want to have a better view, because
Wow.
that better view, that close up will tell you what to do with it.
An informed decision. When you
Yes.
list what you're saying is every single thing that comes your way, you need to lift it and hold it in your hands, even if for a brief moment, so that you can examine what its true purpose is in your life. And the reason I said it's lonely at the bottom is because we all know. That's why they call it the 1%. So you mean to tell me that the 99% don't know? They're lonely because even though you're in a crowded room, you may feel completely alone. You ever been in a room full of people and you felt out of place? You felt alone? That's because whatever spirit is realming and dwelling and roaming in that room does not serve you. And you know it's not your place.
Look,
Yeah.
the lonely thing, I think if you analyze it more, what you were seeing is really lack of knowledge
I
can
agree.
actually create loneliness, because
I
I
agree.
might be in a room full of people like me, full of people who have the same interest as me. But because I don't know that they do, I will not go and approach them to benefit from that or those similarities. So
That's
the
why
fact
you have
I
to
don't
lift your
know,
voice to make a
yeah.
connection.
Yeah, so it is.
Look, when you bring voice into this, you are taking me to another whole level, because as you all know, the next book that I'm working on is Speak Up, I Can't See You. And it is all about voices, like how speaking up, you know,
Speak up. Can't
guarantees
see you.
visibility for you. Yes. So, yes, T, go ahead.
I'm like, I'm sitting here listening, and there's so many things again are just coming.
That's how
This
it works.
education, it's the education, so the knowledge, right? It is bringing someone to a space, lifting them to a space that they didn't know was possible. So
Mm.
all I am, my organization is to empower young Black girls, and it is through STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And the arts is particularly important to me because it is providing these young Black girls with the modalities for them to be their better self, to grow, to become, to be lifted,
Yeah.
and to see what is possible. So I do it through retreats to show them what's in their own backyard. They can appreciate and learn about the things in their own backyard that they may not have been
Okay.
introduced to. And then take
The lack
on
of knowledge I talked about earlier.
yeah, and then take them on retreats out of the country so that they know that nothing is impossible. That their dreams become even bigger. Their
Yeah.
visions are even clearer. So it is introducing someone if they're at the bottom. Remember, I said you never look down on anyone unless you're lifting them up. You're reaching down to lift them back up. Sometimes
Right.
you have to bring people up so they can see what is even possible because they have been down. The book has been
Yeah.
closed, the voice has been silenced. And so you lift them up for them to dream, to know what is there. So then they can start unpacking what was down below
Yeah.
that was looking to rise up out of them.
Yeah.
But it was laying dormant inside. You have to bring people to the information so that they can rise up because there's an expectation that people should just know. But people don't just know.
Yeah.
Even
They
with the
don't.
even with the slaves, right? It is if we talk about slavery and Harriet Tubman, right? It was she recognized freedom and the power of freedom. That was lifting. That was, and then there
Absolutely.
were individuals who would not
They
leave,
they
man,
wanted to stay on the plantation.
even when it said we are free, right?
They
We go
stayed.
they said we were free. There were slaves who chose to stay on the plantation.
Listen, you
Because
talking
of
about something that's
conditioning.
real personal to me right now.
Yeah.
Look,
So
look.
we could
Okay.
get it. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Let's let's get into it. Let's get into it. Because if we give Butterfly to talk about this topic, we might be here for the next 30 minutes. It is something that is near and dear to your heart, and for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
When you mentioned earlier that your organization is working with young girls, actually making them aware of what it is in their backyard, it reminded me of a story that is called Acres of Diamonds.
I know that.
Um, yeah, Acres of Diamond was being told by Russell Conway. Russell Conway is actually the founder of what is this university? I don't want to say Memphis, but it was a university that he founded by just delivering this message throughout the country. Basically, and I want our viewers to Google it so that they can get the full story. I don't want to repeat it here, but basically,
Temple University.
Temple, Philadelphia.
Temple.
Temple
Temple
University.
Owls, baby.
Exactly. Temple University. So basically, there was a farmer who had like a backyard and there. So he didn't know what was in the backyard. But then, like someday, he just had in mind that he needed to travel the world and actually go looking for something better. So he sold his house and then left, wandering the world until he died somewhere. Now, the neighbor came one day to visit the new owner. I said I would not tell the story, but I'm telling it anyway.
It's a good story.
The neighbor came, and then when he came to visit the new owner, he saw something like a shiny object somewhere, and he rushed and said, "Is Ali Hafez back?" Because Ali Hafez was the owner of the house. So he went because he heard of some diamonds around the world. So he went to get something. But when he passed along the way, the guy came and saw the diamond and said, "Did Ali Hafez arrive? Like, is he back?" He said, "No, there is no Ali Hafez." He said, "Because that is a diamond." And the guy said, "No, this is no diamond. This is actually just a pebble." Said, "I know a diamond when I see one." So he insisted that that rock was actually a diamond. Lo and behold, when they searched inside there were diamonds everywhere. So the lesson was like he had acres of diamond in his own backyard. Didn't look for it in there, but he went traveling the world to look for a diamond that was already like 3 feet away. You guys know about 3 feet from gold in Napoleon Hill.
That's the reason why what Tanisha's doing with her organization, that's the reason why I'm a steering committee and founding school board member, because our see, a lot of times the distraction is not about you, it's about your seed. That's written in the Bible.
And what is your seed? What is seed?
The future, the children, the diamond in our very own backyard. The children are the diamonds that we need to dig for, that need to be lifted up out of the ground so they can recognize that they can change their perspective and come up from out of themselves to become who they are meant to be.
Look, I know
the acres of diamonds in our backyard. That's why you teach, Professor, because you recognize the mind is the acre. What were the diamonds that we need to bring forth that for us?
Okay, so are you saying that we have gold mines in our minds?
Our mind, the cerebellum, the amygdala, the amygdala, the pineal gland. This right here is where the diamonds exist. These are the acres. The young minds of our children, those are the acres. They are in our very backyard. They're in every classroom. They're walking down the street. They're running back and forth by my office door, laughing and giggling. They're sitting in the classrooms at ALG. They're sitting in the classrooms and the meeting room with All That I Am organization. They're sitting in the classrooms with Be Fly White Consulting. They're sitting in the classrooms. They're walking down the street. They're singing drill music. They're out in the streets killing each other. Those are the acres that we need to lift up so the diamonds of their mind can shine, because that is truly, I believe the children are the future. It's as corny as it could be. God rest Whitney's soul.
I
She
love
had
that.
something. She had something, because that is the acres of diamonds. Like, you look past what's right in front of you. He
We
died
cannot, we
recognizing
cannot.
the diamonds he sought in the world was in his own backyard.
Well, if he saw any in the world, because he passed just looking for something that was never there. But I don't believe that we could end this in a more beautiful way than the way you put it. But T, since you were the one who opened it up, I would let you close it out, because we are nearing the 40 minutes mark. Do you
Yes,
guys realize that every time we record, it's exactly about 40 minutes?
it's
So
perfect.
we'll talk about that later. With editing and everything, we might be less, but
Okay.
there you go. T, yes.
Well, y'all heard the conversation. The hope is that it elevated you. We believe that it has. But the question that we want to leave you with is, what can you lift? Who can you lift? And when will you lift?
Mm.
Be good to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. Love yourself. Love others. And tap into that wisdom that is being poured into you, so that you can become the better version of yourself, so that your conversations change, the rooms that you're in change, so that you have conversations of elevation with your network, with your community. Thank y'all for joining us. Peace and love.